Ladies and gentlemen, a third new snapshot on the combat experimental line of snapshots has been released. This was actually done in the tail end of last week, and then I was away all weekend, so I haven't had time to make a video about this one yet. But here it is. Like I said, this is number 3. There's been a combat test, snapshots 1 and 2, to test a complete revamp of the combat system. These have been posted by Jeb, the Chief Creative Officer at Mojang, and you can find the information about this in a Reddit thread and up on the feedback site. Anyway, my name is slicedlime, and in this video I'm going to take you through all the changes between the previous combat version and this one. If you want all the details, you can find the previous update videos for these as well. You should probably watch those first. Let's get into things anyway, and let's start with something not entirely related to the combat snapshot, but a thing that was released together with it. There is a combat test map that you can download as well. Stick this into your saves folder and open it as a single player world, and it has a bunch of nifty things like a weapon test area, and you can test out weapon range and new enchants and shield mechanics and so on. And then a vanilla gameplay challenge area with portals into iconic Minecraft encounters. Sounds pretty good. And together with that, it has PvP and PvE battle arenas. So that's a good place to test this on. Now let's get on to the actual changes to combat. The sword attack speed has been increased back a little bit. It's 3.0 in this version, it was 2.5 in the previous version. That means the sword is now a little more viable as an attack weapon. The hold to attack method that was present in the first combat snapshot has returned in this one, but attacks will now happen at 120% charge, so if you just hold it down to attack, then you will attack slightly slower than optimal spam clicking or having incredibly good timing. Jeb also notes in the Reddit post that the delay to auto-attacking will likely be removed when the system is added to Bedrock for controllers and touch, so that inefficiency might be a mouse and keyboard limitation only. Knockback resistance has changed as well. It is now a scale instead of a random dice roll, which means that you have less random factors into the combat. Bunch of changes to Axis in this version. Axis now disable shields for 1.6 seconds instead of having a 1 in 4 chance to disable a shield for 5 seconds. That means the combat is less random once again, but also the effect is lower to offset that. Axes now also take 1 durability damage when attacking as opposed to the 2 before. That means that axes are now equally long-lasting weapons as swords. There's a new enchant for axes in this version as well. It is a chopping enchantment that adds 1 hit point of damage to the axe and half a second of shield stun per level, and you can get that as chopping 1, chopping 2 or chopping 3. That is an experimental enchant. You can still apply sharpness on them in an anvil as well, but sharpness and chopping are mutually exclusive. And Jeb writes in the Reddit thread that an option here is to change chopping so that it only affects shields, and then let axes get sharpness as well from enchantment. There are currently no mobs in the game that use shields, so if that was to happen, then chopping would be meaningless in PvE combat. Speaking of shields, shields now have a protective arc that is only about 100 degrees instead of 180 degrees. That means that the protection you receive from holding up a shield is about 50 degrees to either side as opposed to 90 degrees. It doesn't cover quite as much. There's a new shield indicator option as well that you can turn on to display when the shield is active, similar to how the attack indicator works. And there's an option to hide the shield when it is active. One final change to combat in this snapshot: projectiles will no longer trigger the invulnerability timer. That means that you could do a lot more damage through a multi-shot crossbow, because that can hit and deal damage with all 3 arrows. Or you could have multiple players firing at once to deal more damage. Now, this is not a normal snapshot. You will not find it in your launcher. You will have to install it manually. It is not terribly difficult to do so. Here are the steps you need to take. Go and download the zip file with this combat update. You can find that in the Reddit thread, but I'll also put the link down in this video description. You have to unpack that zip file into your versions folder of your Minecraft folder. If you don't know where that is, I'll post a link to a help article that will tell you how to find that as well. Then you'll have to create a new installation in the Installations tab of the Minecraft launcher. And for the new installation, select the version called Pending 1.14 Combat 3. And now you can start that. The launcher will download all the rest of the files. Now, one important thing to note about these combat snapshots is that they are not compatible with any other versions. So play in a new world. You can update the world from 1.14, but if you do that, it will no longer work with any other version of Minecraft. So be very careful, and for safety, play it on a backup or on a brand new world. Now, the purpose of these are to get more feedback. You can leave feedback in the Reddit thread that will be linked down in the video description. You can also leave feedback on the Minecraft feedback site. There's a link to that as well, but if you want to remember it simply, you can reach that from aka.ms/java-combat-snap. One thing to note here is that feel free to write whatever you want in the comments of this video, but if you want your feedback to actually be acted on, leave it on Reddit or on the feedback site, because that is where they might get taken into account for future development. And with that said, that was all I had for you for this time. Those were the changes for Minecraft Combat Experiment Snapshot number 3. My name is slicedlime. I hope you enjoyed this update video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.